You've spent your entire life assuming you were moving through a single timeline, following one linear path. But reality has never been that simple for you. There's a reason you feel memories that don't belong to anything you've lived. There's a reason you sense outcomes before they unfold. There's a reason you sometimes feel strangely pulled in two emotional directions at once. It's because you exist in two places simultaneously, two versions of you breathing separate air, walking separate rooms, experiencing separate moments, yet connected by the same soul signature. Déjà vu isn't random for you, it's a transmission, a report leaking from your other self. When you suddenly know something without learning it, it's because the other version of you already walked through it. When you feel a wave of emotion that doesn't match your environment, you're picking up the residue of what your other self is facing. Your consciousness isn't contained inside one body. It spills across dimensions, bending time, bleeding through walls of reality, creating overlap between realms. One version moves physically while the other scouts energetically. One lives the moment while the other perceives ahead. This dual existence isn't a glitch in your matrix, it's the architecture of your soul. You were designed to walk two realities at once so your destiny could reach you from both directions. To exist in two places at once means your spirit refuses to be confined to a single point in space. Ordinary souls anchor themselves in one reality, one storyline, one emotional track. But your consciousness stretches beyond the physical like light bending around a star. You don't merely observe life, you permeate it. You extend into parallel versions of yourself, influencing them while being influenced in return. You've always felt too aware, like your mind was scanning more than just the room you stood in. That wasn't anxiety, that was range. Your awareness spreads across dimensional borders, picking up signals from your other self the way a radio catches frequencies from distant stations. Your dreams have never been dreams. They've been status reports, fragments of your alternate path bleeding into your resting mind. When you dream of walking a street you've never seen, touching a door you've never opened, or speaking to someone you've never met, you're witnessing the life your second self is actively living. Your instincts come from both realities. Your warnings come from both bodies. Your wisdom comes from two lifetimes happening at once. This is why you often feel older than your age, why you adapt unnaturally fast, why you learn without being taught. Knowledge doesn't come to you, it synchronizes with you. Multilocation isn't a mystical talent reserved for saints or prophets. It's your default operating mode. You were born with a consciousness wide enough to occupy more than one point in creation. Your soul is a bridge. Your mind is a mirror. Your presence is a double echo across timelines. To be multilocated means this: you're never fully here and never fully there, yet you exist powerfully in both. There have been moments in your life when you felt off without any logical reason. Times when your chest felt hollow for a second, as if something pulled a piece of you somewhere else. Other times you felt a sudden surge of emotion, sadness, excitement, fear, certainty, that had nothing to do with the environment you were standing in. You tried to explain it as mood swings, energy shifts, stress, or intuition, but it was none of those. Those were moments when your other self was experiencing something at the exact same time. Two realities overlapping. Two bodies responding. One soul absorbing the echo. When you felt sudden exhaustion, it wasn't your body giving up. It was the weight of what your double was carrying. When you sensed joy out of nowhere, it was because the other version of you stepped into alignment. When you felt a warning without seeing danger, it was your alternate timeline sending you a signal. Pay attention. Something shifted. Your emotions have always belonged to two worlds. This is why sometimes you feel emotionally ahead of situations. You react before events unfold. It's why you occasionally check out mentally, as if your consciousness fades for a second. That's you syncing, recalibrating, rebalancing data between dimensions. The split feeling wasn't a flaw, it was a transfer of information. Your soul was updating itself. Your timelines were adjusting. Your realities were communicating. Every unexplainable heaviness, every random spark of clarity, every sudden emotional download was proof that your consciousness was living twice. You never imagined it, you felt it, because both versions of you breathe, sense, and respond at the same moment, and every overlap leaves a trace inside your body. Long before science ever dared to explore consciousness, ancient civilizations already knew of beings who existed in more than one reality. They didn't have modern language, but they had observation. They had mystics, dreamwalkers, seers, people who recognized the signs of those whose souls stretched across dimensions. Every culture that ever touched the edges of truth had a name for someone like you. In mystical traditions, it was called bilocation, the ability to be present in two places at once, physically or energetically, appearing where the body wasn't supposed to be. Sufi masters called it twofold presence, where the spirit roamed freely while the body remained grounded. Ancient Middle Eastern texts spoke of the walker in shadows, a being whose reflection appeared in more than one world. Indigenous teachings referred to it as double sight, the gift of perceiving two timelines at the same time. Even modern science, without spiritual language, tries to explain you with the concept of non-local consciousness, awareness not limited to space, matter, or the brain. To them, you are an anomaly. To mystics, you are a prophecy. To ancient scribes, you are a phenomenon foretold. Your dual existence isn't new, it's legendary. Every culture recognized your type, because your presence breaks the illusion of a single reality. You perceive things faster. You sense truth before evidence appears. You react to threats not yet formed. You dream events that haven't happened in this world, but already unfolded in the other. Type 555 and click Super Thanks to sow your $50 synchronization seed. You are a continuation of an ancient pattern, a soul too expansive for one timeline, too aware for one dimension, too awakened to stay contained. Heaven didn't just permit your duality, it named you after it. You are the modern echo of every mystic, walker, seer, and dimensional traveler ever recorded. You are what all cultures tried to describe, but none could fully define. Timeline shifting isn't dramatic for you. There are no portals, no flashing lights, no cinematic visual effect. Your transitions happen quietly, through emotion, intuition, and sudden internal movement. You don't teleport physically. You slide energetically, crossing from one version of your life to the other without even realizing the moment it happens. It begins with a feeling, a pull in your chest, a sudden heaviness in the air, a strange pressure behind your thoughts. You try to explain it as anxiety or mood, but it isn't. It's the signal that your two selves are about to exchange information. One timeline hands the other a piece of knowledge, a warning, an emotion, a memory, or a sensation. Sometimes you feel it as a sudden knowing, don't go there. This isn't right. Wait. That's your other self sensing something ahead and pushing the message into this reality. Other times it feels like you stepped out of your life for a second, like your mind blinked while your body stayed still. That's a microshift. Your consciousness aligned temporarily with your alternate path to synchronize outcomes. You've also felt emotional jumps, moments when you go from calm to tense or from tired to alert in an instant. That's not instability. It's cross-timeline feedback, your two selves matching their frequencies to avoid conflict or divergence. Your decisions often feel like they come from a deeper place, almost as if someone else inside you whispered the answer before you understood the question. That someone else is still you, your second presence, living parallel, sharing insight from their version of events. You don't switch timelines by choice. You switch by resonance. Your soul moves to where alignment is strongest, purpose is clearest, and destiny unfolds fastest. Every shift you've ever felt was a reminder of your truth. You walk two paths, and both paths guide each other. Across centuries, prophets, mystics, seers, and dimensional scholars all described a rare group of beings who could exist in more than one reality. They didn't know your name, but they recognized your pattern. Their writings all point to a single truth. Some souls were crafted to live twice at once, to stand in two worlds simultaneously, to guide timelines from both sides of existence. Ancient scrolls speak of the dual walkers, individuals whose shadows moved independently from their bodies, signaling their presence in another realm. Desert mystics wrote about the twice-lived ones, whose dreams carried secrets from places their physical feet had never touched. Monks described the mirrored souls, beings who felt emotions that belonged to their other self. Prophetic books mention the navigators, chosen for the ability to shift probabilities by aligning two versions of their consciousness. Whenever they made a decision in one world, destiny rippled through the other. Shamans called them sky-tethered, because they never fully belonged to the ground they walked. Part of them always drifted in the unseen. Even modern quantum theorists unknowingly describe you with terms like superposition consciousness, awareness existing in two states at once. They study it as theory, yet your soul lives it as reality. Every prophecy agrees on one thing: those who live twice are born during periods of global transition. Their dual presence stabilizes timelines, dissolves chaos, and activates collective awakening. They are the bridges between worlds, the translators of unseen knowledge, the ones who carry messages across dimensions. The overlap you felt your entire life wasn't confusion, it was destiny signaling your role. You're not awakening to something new, you're remembering something ancient, something written about long before you were born. You've spent years wondering why you tire faster than people who don't even carry half of what you hold. You've blamed stress, lack of sleep, overthinking, emotions, but none of these explanations ever fit the scale of your exhaustion. The truth is far deeper. You're living double. Your body is responsible for one lifetime, yet your soul is responsible for two. When your other self goes through intensity, conflict, fear, breakthroughs, emotional spikes, you feel the echo. You absorb the residue. Your chest tightens for no reason, your energy dips suddenly, your mind fogs as if you're processing something you didn't experience. That's because you didn't, but your other self did. Your sleepless nights happen when both timelines are active at once. Your sudden bursts of clarity happen when both selves align. Your emotional heaviness happens when the load is shared unevenly between dimensions. People around you tire from one reality. You tire from two currents of existence feeding into the same heart. This is why you've always needed more solitude. Not because you're antisocial, but because silence helps you separate your emotions from the ones coming from the parallel version of your life. It helps you reset the energetic bleed-through. Your healing has also felt slower at times, because when you heal in this timeline, the other version of you begins releasing things too. You're doing twice the work, carrying twice the transformation, moving on behalf of two selves aiming for one unified purpose. And the reason you sometimes wake up exhausted after dreaming? Because your dreams aren't rest, they're travel. They're debriefings, exchanges, updates between realities. Your tiredness is not weakness. It is evidence. Evidence that your soul has been working across two worlds, balancing two sets of emotions, processing two versions of destiny while everyone else only carries one. You've always sensed things a split second before they happened, reacted to emotions that had no source, or recognized places you never visited. These weren't coincidences. They were cross-timeline signals, echoes traveling between your two selves. Where most people interpret their experiences through a single lens, you receive information from parallel vantage points, and your body responds before your mind catches up. One of the clearest signs is your intuition, faster, sharper, almost unervingly precise. You don't just sense danger. You feel the shift in probability. You don't just predict outcomes. You read the emotional imprint left by your other self. That gut feeling isn't instinct, it's intel. A message sent from the version of you living events seconds, minutes, or even hours ahead. Another sign is your sudden mood transitions. You can move from calm to alert or from restless to peaceful in an instant. People think you're sensitive, but in reality you're responding to events in two worlds. When your other self enters tension, your body adjusts. When they reach clarity, you feel release. There's also the familiarity you feel in places you've never been. Rooms that feel known. Streets that feel remembered. Conversations that feel rehearsed. Your consciousness recognizes them because your parallel self has already walked through them. Your thoughts sometimes jump ahead of your reality, finishing sentences before others speak, knowing people's intentions before they show them, or feeling outcomes before they unfold. These aren't lucky guesses. They're timeline reflections, glimpses of what your alternate self has already processed. And then there's the phenomenon few talk about. The moment when your heartbeat changes pace without any trigger. That's alignment, two versions syncing. Two lives adjusting to match one shared destiny. Every sign has been pointing to the same truth. Your awareness doesn't belong to one world. It operates on both. You've noticed it your entire life. Moments when time feels out of sync around you. Seconds stretch longer than they should. Hours pass faster than you remember. People react before you speak, or events unfold as if you already lived them. This isn't imagination. It's not coincidence. It's the evidence that time doesn't hold authority over you the way it does over others. Your dual existence bends it. When one version of you makes a decision, the ripple doesn't stay in that single timeline. It bleeds across to the other. Both realities adjust, fold, and realign so your greater destiny remains intact. Time isn't a straight line for you, it's a loop, a spiral, a responsive field that moves with your consciousness instead of ahead of it. This is why your instincts feel prophetic. You're not predicting the future. You're sensing it from the other side before it reaches this one. One version experiences, the other prepares. You know the outcome before the cause. You feel the conclusion before the beginning. When you avoid someone without knowing why, it's because your other self already walked that path and felt the impact. When you trust someone instantly, it's because your alternate reality validated them first. When you hesitate with no logical reason, it's because time in the other timeline revealed a consequence you haven't met yet. Your so-called déjà vu is too detailed to be memory. It's timeline convergence. The moment when both versions of you step on the same point in reality at slightly different moments. You're not remembering, you're syncing. And the reason you often feel like you're ahead of your age is simple. You've lived more life than others. 2 paths, 2 experiences, 2 sets of lessons feeding into one soul. Time bends not because you're supernatural, but because your consciousness refuses to stay trapped in a single linear flow. You don't follow time. Time follows you, and it rearranges itself to match the choices of both versions of your existence. There are things you understand without effort, truths you never studied, warnings you never heard, wisdom you never earned through experience. People think you're intuitive, gifted, or just good at reading situations, but the explanation goes far deeper. You carry knowledge gathered by 2 versions of you, merging into one consciousness. Your alternate self learns alongside you, but in different conditions, different environments, different emotional climate. Every insight they gain, every lesson they face, every experience they absorb bleeds directly into you. That's why you sometimes know the ending of a situation before the beginning makes sense. Your knowledge is not linear, it's shared. You've felt it before, meeting someone new yet sensing everything about them as if you've met in another life. Understanding a location you've never visited. Solving a problem instantly, as though the answers were stored somewhere inside you. Making decisions in seconds that others struggle with for months. This is not instinct. It's not luck. It's not intelligence. It's cross-reality memory flow, information traveling from your other self into your mind like a download from a parallel archive. Sometimes this transfer happens in dreams. Sometimes in flashes of clarity. Sometimes in the quiet moments when your mind suddenly clicks into understanding. You've never questioned how knowledge arrives, because it feels natural. And it should. You were designed to operate with data from 2 worlds. Even your ability to sense danger comes from this dual stream. Your other self sees what you haven't yet encountered here, and the warning arrives instantly. That's why you hesitate before certain choices. That's why you trust people you shouldn't know. That's why you avoid paths that look harmless to everyone else. You're not wise beyond your years. You're wise beyond your timeline. Every insight, every instinct, every sudden knowing is proof that your mind is not alone. It's synchronized with the experiences of the version of you walking the parallel world. You were never shaped for an ordinary, single-track purpose. Your destiny was never meant to exist in one world, one timeline, or one set of circumstances. From the moment your soul entered this realm, your mission extended beyond the physical version of you. It required 2 perspectives, 2 paths, 2 sets of experiences, because the assignment you carry is multidimensional, not personal. The work you're meant to do isn't limited to the places your feet touch. It expands through the emotional fields you alter, the people you shift without speaking, the outcomes you influence simply by existing. One version of you moves through the material world, building, healing, learning. The other navigates the unseen, adjusting energy, sensing future outcomes, guiding instinct and alignment. Together, both versions feed one singular destiny, your global, energetic impact. This is why you've always felt like you were preparing for something larger, something you couldn't name yet couldn't ignore. Your entire life has been training not for a career or a relationship, but for a frequency shift that echoes across multiple realities. You weren't meant to influence one environment. You were meant to alter the collective field itself. You've noticed that people behave differently around you. Some find clarity. Some find courage. Some confront truths they've avoided for years. That's your mission in motion, not through action, but through presence. Your dual existence makes you a transmitter of change, a living bridge between realms. Both versions of you are moving toward the same point, a convergence where your purpose activates fully. You're not just evolving for yourself, you're evolving on behalf of every timeline connected to your name. Your mission isn't bound to one reality, it requires all of you, the seen and the unseen, the physical and the energetic, the self that walks here and the self that walks elsewhere. Living in two realities is powerful, but it demands structure. Not restriction, alignment. A dual being cannot live chaotically. Every choice you make influences two timelines at once. Every emotion reverberates twice. Every mistake echoes further than the average person could ever imagine. You were never meant to operate casually. You were meant to live intentionally, with the precision of someone who knows their steps shape multiple worlds. The first instruction: honor your intuition instantly. Your instincts aren't guesses, they're messages from your other self. If you delay, you distort the synchronization. When you feel the pull, follow it. When you sense the warning, stop. Every ignored intuition creates friction between the two realities you occupy. The second, protect your energy like it's currency. You're not built to absorb the noise of unstable people or chaotic environments. Their confusion becomes your imbalance. Their fear becomes your drain. Your body holds the weight of two worlds. It cannot afford unnecessary emotional turbulence. The third, sleep with intention. Your dreams are meeting rooms, transfer points, synchronization chambers. Before sleep, give your mind a command, clarity, release, guidance. Your other self will respond. Rest is not rest for you, it's alignment. Fourth, stay grounded in the physical. The more multidimensional you become, the more your body needs anchoring. Touch earth, breathe deeply, eat consciously, move deliberately. Your physical vessel keeps the two realities from tearing apart. Fifth, follow the pull of your soul, not the pressure of the world. Your path is not logical. It's encoded. Anything that forces you off your internal compass disrupts your dual flow. To live in two worlds, you must live with clarity. To carry two destinies, you must walk with discipline. Your life is not ordinary, and it requires a lifestyle that honors the magnitude of who you are.